For our first assignment, our first tip, we're just going to look at the basics of setting up a mouse handler. Honestly, if you've watched a tutorial on how to do this assignment should be pretty easy because it's really just taking what we did and making a slight change to it. Here might be a basic sample Code Sculptor base to start working with. As usual, we want to import our GUI. We want to set a height and a width of our screen. I just find it easier to do this all the time at the beginning in case I change my mind. I'm going to have a draw handler, which right now does nothing. And I am going to set up my basic frame and my basic draw handler and start the actual frame running. So we have something like this. In this case, maybe because I want to fit it on the screen easier to show you, I might just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so how do we set up a mouse handler? So just like we set up the draw handler, remember that there are two different kinds of mouse handlers. There's the mouse click handler and the mouse drag handler. This one we're only interested in the mouse click, and we have to give it a name, so perhaps click is the best name to give it. Doesn't matter what order you put this in. Up here, you just have to know that when you create it, you have to put one variable, just like we did up here with Canvas. You have to put one variable in your click, and it would probably be something like MPOS, which would stand for mouse position. So this sets up your basic system where you can do something inside your mouse click handler, you can do something inside your draw handler, and you're going to just need one global variable. So up here, you're going to set up a global variable. So you can call that whatever you want, but maybe you call that, instead of mouse position, you could call it position. You could call it coordinates, and it's going to equal an X and Y value. In fact, maybe that, because we want to set it to start in the middle of the screen, perhaps. So then the one part I'm going to show you, even though I didn't say this in the title, is I'm going to set up the draw handler for you, and I'm going to let you think about what to do in the click handler. Just in case you've forgotten how to draw text, we would say canvas draw text, and we would put the text that we want to draw. So we would want to draw the coordinates to the screen. But I can't just say draw the coordinates to the screen, because this is not a string. It needs to be a string. So you have to ask yourself, what do I do about that? But after we do that, where do we draw the coordinates to the screen? Well, we want to draw them at position coordinates. Now remember, coordinates is two things, so it's an X and a Y together. So when I do this, it puts an X and a Y in it all at once. And then the size that we want to draw something at, and then the color that we want to draw something at. And so when I do that, see, text must be a string, so it doesn't like this one. So how do I convert that to a string? Well, it's pretty easy, actually. We just say draw the string of that. And that's something that we have to do a lot whenever we want to draw text on the screen, because usually we want to draw like number of lives, time remaining, score, those kinds of things. And so they're never strings, so we always have to convert them to a string. So there we go. It's drawing 250, 250 at position 250. Now, what position is 250? I think it's the top corner of the text. It might be the bottom corner of the text, but basically you can tell that it's not perfectly centered. We'd have to move it backwards a little bit. So even though it says it's at 250, 250, that's where it first starts to draw the text, not where the middle of the text would be. And the other thing you might notice about it that's a little funny is it says 0.0 and 0.0. If you wanted to, this because we're dividing by 2 here. So you always could say, well, I want this to be the integer of these two things so that it's not point 0. So when I run it, it's just 250, 250. Again, that's just because we're dividing by 2, and that automatically creates a floating point. So that's how you would set up the text. Now, you just have to get it so that when you click, you can find the mouse position and the coordinates change to the new mouse position. And I'm going to let you figure that part out. And if you don't understand it, go back and watch the tutorials on how to do mouse handlers, and it'll become very clear very quickly.